The first episode of Hard Knocks, it was great to see. It was an introduction into the series, and they even confirmed the rumor on draft day that I never thought they would bring up on Hard Knocks. What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video. And man, this was an interesting episode. I would even go as far as to say this was a better episode than episode 1. I know on Twitter, a lot of people are saying that episode 1 was better, and I guess so from a production standpoint. Yes, there were more graphics, more things to follow along with the free agents and stuff like that, but nothing really got done. It was just an introduction into a lot of these quote-unquote characters and people that are going to be on the series, people who we met who are going to be a part of the Hard Knocks throughout July. But this is where they are actually starting to get some work in. They are talking to scouts. We saw a lot of different scouts. We even got a whole dinner with all of those scouts, including Hannah Burnett. If you guys don't know who she is the Giants female scout. And I know it's kind of stupid to touch on, because she's a female, but I made a video about her years ago, and it's great to see that she is still part of the New York Giants. That means she survived multiple regimes. I think she goes as far back as only the Joe Schoen regime, but she's still there as a scout, so it's great to see that. I don't recognize any of the other scouts, but I do recognize Hannah. It's awesome to see her there. I also reached out to Hannah for an interview at some point. I don't remember if we couldn't get times right, but I was going to actually interview her at some point. I just checked my DMs on Instagram, and she was actually not even allowed to have interviews at that time. So it sucks, but it would have been awesome to interview her, especially now that she's on Hard Knocks. It would have been awesome. So the opening scene starts out with Joe Schoen in his office, and he is amazed. He's saying, oh wow, 25.5, and I already knew what that was talking about. That was the salary cap, as it was about a $15 to $20 million increase than what the expected salary cap was going to be at. So Joe Schoen was talking to Chris Rossetti, and you guys know Chris Rossetti is awesome. He wasn't featured too much in this episode, but a phone call between him and Joe Schoen, and you can see a game in the background is between the Texans and the Baltimore Ravens, I believe. And you can see that Joe Schoen is going back and forth on one of these run plays with Gus Edwards as the running back. So maybe he was looking at him as a potential running back that they should target in free agency. Now, this is where I had the most fun. When they were at the scouting combine, I believe this is before workouts, before they did any of the activities, they had meetings with a lot of these players, and man, it was great to see the quarterbacks. Now, if you guys remember John Gruden and his QB room, or whatever he liked to call it, and Spider 2Y Banana and stuff like that, I live for shows like that. I could watch those forever, just kind of dissecting a football player's mind. The quarterback is more intriguing, obviously, because they have to know all the terminology. It's crazy how much things they have to keep in their mind and, say in a huddle, repeat back. It's great to see how smart, it's fun to see how smart a quarterback really is, and just seeing that in a more in-depth point of view with quarterback prospects that we scouted last year as a collective, and also seeing our regime, our coaches, our scouts, our GM sort of going through these questions with these prospects was awesome to see. You can see Jaden Daniels talking about how much he loves slot fades, as that's become a big thing of Jaden Daniels in the scouting process, that he loves throwing those slot fades to Malik Neighbors. They touched on that. They touched on Drake May, on how he is extremely smart, and they seemed very intrigued by Drake May. Now, what I loved about Drake May is how quickly he was able to respond with these questions that Dable had, and they were not only the right answer, he didn't stumble on his answers, he said it very smoothly, very professionally, and on top of that, he was just like, yeah, easy.
Saying corner flag, but it's flag, so flag, and the angle is an angle. You got me on that?
JJ McCarthy was extremely interesting as well. As you guys know, Michigan running that pro-style offense with Jim Harbaugh over there, and Jim Harbaugh runs it like he did in the NFL, where JJ McCarthy was drawing up a play, and before he drew up the play, he wrote the entire play out, something the other quarterbacks did not do that I have noticed. And Dable was like, so do they make you say that entire thing, or did they give you a couple of words to say? And JJ McCarthy quickly said, hey, no, I have to say this entire play, and that's how Jim Harbaugh likes it. And Dable said, well, I would just give you one word for that entire play. I wouldn't make you say that entire thing, which is kind of cool to see that Jim Harbaugh runs more of a pro-style play call reading than Brian Daboll does. Marvin Harrison was great. Roma Dunze was great. Malik Neighbors was great. They all interviewed pretty well. And we all know Malik Neighbors has a little bit of not an ego, not arrogance, nothing like that, just energy. He's a dog. I mean, he's an absolute dog. If he wants the ball, and Brian Daboll even talked about that.
Competitive fucking juice, man. That's what you need, some dogs. Right. I want guys that want the ball.
Yes, sir.
And he also says, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting a little fired up. Hell, I get a little fired up sometimes. And there was a brief little pause, and you could see just how the angle was put. Just watch this.
You know, sometimes you lose. I mean, shit, I lose it too as a coach, but I got to learn how to harness that good.
Gotcha.
What's your best?
And it's funny to laugh about it now because of the whole Wink Martindale situation and how he was like going crazy on players and coaching staff and stuff. We all know Brian Daboll can get very heated on the sidelines, and Joe Schoen giving him that little pat on the back, like I'm glad you vented. I'm glad you're relating right now. I'm glad you're letting this side of you show. Now, with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the big information news drop in this episode. I did not think they were going to talk about trading up to 3 at all. Trust me, I thought that because, listen, no doubt in my mind, the Giants tried to trade up to the 3rd pick. Obviously that didn't happen. New England wasn't going to budge. They wanted a king's ransom. The Giants just didn't have that. So even if the Giants were to give up their entire draft this year, it wouldn't have been enough. And even a team like Minnesota that had 2 first-round picks in this prior draft wasn't able to get up there. So there was no chance the Giants were going to get up to 3. However, they did inquire about it. They did push hardly to get to number 3. We're probably going to see that towards like the final couple episodes that we have. We're on episode 2 out of 5. So we're going to get that at least by 4 or 5. And a lot of people came out and said, this can't be true. There's no way. There is the anti-Jones guys that were doom and gloom about it, saying, yeah, Daniel Jones was just Joe Schoen's guy from the beginning. He just loves Daniel Jones. And then there are the Super Jones guys that says, yeah, well, the Giants never wanted Drake May or any of those quarterbacks to begin with. Both those sides could agree that they didn't think that Joe Schoen wanted a Drake May or any sort of quarterback at number 3. But both those sides got proven wrong today. As it turns out, the rumors were true. Joe Schoen did inquire about getting to the 3rd pick. Now, this is just the inquiry. This is just inquiring about the number 3 pick. We're going to see what happens on draft day, if they include that information or not, because there was a lot of back and forth between the Giants, Minnesota, and New England during draft day while the draft was happening to get to that 3rd spot. And then somehow Minnesota called their bluff. They stood. The Giants didn't come away with a pick, and New England gets Drake May. The rest is history. But for anybody saying that Joe Schoen wanted Daniel Jones from the beginning, it was Malik Neighbors or bust, it was absolutely not the case. They even mentioned it in the beginning that they were scouting these quarterbacks, and they were saying, hey, we're this high up. We can possibly get a quarterback. Guys like Brandon Brown and the other scouts were talking about possibly getting a quarterback in the 1st round. You don't draft a quarterback in the 1st round, even trade up for one for him to be the backup. You're drafting him to be your eventual starter. So you see Joe Schoen going up to Elliott Wolf at the combine and say, hey, just keep us in the loop. If you're going to trade down or think about trading down, just give us a call. We're only at number 6, so you can give us a call first. You know, we're closest down, and you won't have to go too far. So just give us a call. Elliott Wolf was like, all right, no problem. He's gotten a lot of people talking to him about number 3 with no offer, same as the Giants. So they were kind of out of the loop to begin with. And then in the end, we have Joe Schoen. This is crazy. Joe Schoen talking to Saquon Barkley, and it really seems like Joe Schoen is fed up. You could see, like, it was authentic for sure. It didn't look scripted. It didn't look like he was clip farming at all or anything like that. It was authentic. It was saying, like, listen, I'm tired of this situation. He was talking to Ed Berry, which is Saquon Barkley's agent, and you could hear his voice and how tired he was of going through this with Saquon.
Here's what I'm worried. We offer him something. He gets a little pissed off because it's not what he wants, and then some other team comes in $1 million over us, and he's pissed at us, so he's disrespected, so he goes. So
And after he had that conversation, he then called Saquon Barkley, and Saquon just looked like he really did not want to talk to Joe Schoen.
Can you give me your word on that, or you're not going to give us a chance?
What do you mean? Like circling back?
Yeah.
I mean, I already told you where I want to be, so.
So you could tell that both sides are kind of fed up with each other. Both Joe Schoen and Saquon Barkley, they've been going through this fiasco for about a year now, going all the way back to the franchise tag. Both of them really didn't want to get, do franchise tags. It was a big headache for Joe Schoen. He mentioned that in the episode before, and it really just seems like Saquon Barkley did not want to be here anymore, and that's okay. That really is okay. I know Saquon Barkley probably in the perfect world would like to be a Giant for life, but the things didn't add up, and both sides got bitter with each other, and both sides had to move on. But I really think it's interesting to know how Saquon Barkley was kind of being a little bit petty. Always, getting pissed off at Joe Schoen and feeling like he's disrespected just because he found an offer that was $1 million more or something like that, and Joe Schoen was kind of fed up with it. And then we see in the previews for next week's episode, you see John Mara, the goober that he is. I don't really think he cares about Saquon Barkley and the impact he has to the team. I think he just cares about his name and how it brings dollar bills to the stadiums because Saquon Barkley is who he is, the big name that he is. I really don't think he cares about Saquon Barkley himself, but he said this.
I have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes.
And I'll tell you what, John Mara probably hasn't been sleeping these past couple of months. So that being said, guys, that is the entire video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm excited for episode 3. I think this was a better episode than episode 1, but if you guys like episode 1 better, that's your prerogative, I guess. So that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, share this video out, and all that being said, I am Kid Blue, and I'll see you guys in the next video.